warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Very good morning to all of you. Very good morning to the ICCE members, coaches, teachers, athletes, parents, Majlis Sukan Negeri, Majlis Sukan Negara, Institut Sukan Negara, and to the all local and global viewers. Welcome to our AKK webinar Talk and Share. Today, I'm Afzan Mahadi, Head of Coaching Expertise, AKK. I'm going to discuss with you to further my conversation with you regarding the sports coaching and leadership. I'm going to be with you for about a couple an hour, and we are going to discuss details about sports coaching and leadership. Coaching leadership is an important part of the athlete's development and sports development itself in general. So, as a coach, coaches are expected to manage, motivate, and also lead the hundreds of athletes of the across all age groups. This is including the starting age of the initial level, intermediate level, and the final involvement in the high performance program. Of course, all from across all the sporting discipline that we're talking about. So today, I'm going to share with you on my views and the literature reviews views regarding the sports coaching and leadership as a whole in Malaysia, in globally, local or globally. All right. Um, we go for the first one. How we are going to define the leadership itself. So, like shown on the screen that everybody can have a look. Effective leadership in coaching occurs when athletes perform in accordance with the coach intention, which are finding their own needs satisfied. So, according to the Hans 202 stated that effective coaching behavior result in the athletes reaching and personal achievement, performance itself, performance goal, and positive psychological outcome. So here shown that the leadership is not only for the sport skill itself, but is involved the sport for life, or this is involved for the athlete's life behavior. And of course, there is a core value that we have in the effective leadership, because from the effective leadership can change the athletes from a normal athlete become a high potential, or become a very valuable athletes for the local and international level. So um, as I mentioned earlier, that effective leadership actually is not only for the a specific skill itself, but it's involved the life skill, how they interact, how the athletes interact, how the coach members in the team interact one after another. For example, like we have a supporting group in order for you to develop the um, a, a team that reaching a high performance. So leadership from one coach to another coach, this is what we call it integrate leadership. Integrated leadership actually may assist or may influence the athlete's performance itself. All right, coaches prepare athletes for more than just a competition. They work to develop technical and interpersonal skills that are applicable beyond the world of sports. Of course, the when you see in the international level, uh, normally athletes who are reach a very potential or high performance level actually have their own a good attitude, their own good way of bringing up their personality, because athletes are a role model. So the role model that developed by I mean the athlete itself, they have like a role model level. Actually, the role model came from the coach who trained them into a proper structure. Then those who are in a proper structured program came from the coach who are very strong leadership skill involving the a skill that you have in the sports specific, in the fitness itself, in the psychology, and also for the social life. Because um, to be honest with you guys, coach actually treat all younger athletes or uh, adults athletes like their own sisters, their own son, their own daughter, in order to bring into a very um, harmony of family. So coach are able to thought or giving an advice to the kids or the athletes to do to create or to keep going to do a good value into their life. All right, we have the role of a sports coach is that equivalence to the role of the coaching leadership, and I'm going to share with you guys on the coaching leadership tips a little bit. The role of the what we call the role of the sports coach. Actually, sports coaches are like a powerful role model and a leaders of the athletes. So a team brand and the team community for the community itself. So as a result, coach play a faceted a role in the life of the athletes, or might be life for the audience, for the spectators. Uh, it's a role that goes beyond merely teaching the tenets of the sport itself. So instead a coach must have able to properly manage and organize the sports program whereby they combine a numbers of elements, including the fuse element that I'm going to show on the role model after this. All right. Here, I shared with you the role of the sports coach. Every sports coach must have the philosophy and the ethics. So, by embodying and establishing a philosophy or culture on their own, coaches can teach safe and ethical behavior for the athletes and assistant coaches alike. So, the philosophy itself actually can bring the attitude of the your younger generation to be a better person in value. So spectators not only see the performance of the athletes in the very excellent level, but the spectators of fan might follow the good value that um, uh, the athletes have, which is had athlete like a coach, like a mirror to the athletes to say that these athletes actually belongs to which coach that taught them. So that is first on the role of the sports coach. Um, when we refer the second one is a safety and injury prevention. This is coaches are trained to take care of unsafe condition, equipment and practices, and as well as you know how to respond the emergency situation. Then the injury prevention and safety relate to the risk management itself. So before you start your training program, you must have a look and check the condition of your area, your environment. If you are doing your program outside the hall, for example, you have a direct a sun, is that the weather during that time they have a thunder or they have a heavy rain or snow or whichever condition of the weather at that time. And of course you need to check on the surface and what are the element on the injury prevention that coach should be take the courses that related to the first aid prevention or something like that. So coach is look like a mini physiotherapist or mini doctor before the actual doctor perform their duty. So this is the second one. What about the physical conditioning? Physical conditioning relates to the physical conditioning and a program that you have in your training regime on the fitness itself. Do you have a really good into a speed, coordination, a balance, a flexibility, endurance itself relates to your sport specific involved. So the every coaches must have the what they call it the knowledge in terms of the component, the physical component that involved or the motor ability component that involved in their particular sport. So they must know if you are archer athletes, you may not have a speed level, but you need to have a upper body strength in a very good condition. So you need to concentrate more on that. But of course, you cannot avoid to have a basic endurance level to your athletes, not to push them into a certain level like endurance runner and so on. So the basic physical conditioning must be there. What about the growth and development? As a coach, you need to sensitive how to deal with the young athletes, how to deal with the women's or female athletes uh, when you are facing the growth and maturity. Do you really care on the puberty, on the sensitive period of your athletes related to a fitness component? Do you really care on the uh, increase of the fat level when they are growing up for girls? Do you aware on the aggressiveness of the when you're dealing with the athletes, male athletes, for example? So this is an element that a role of a coach should be a sensitive with. What about the next one is a teaching and communication. By implementing positive learning experiences, coaches can maximize an athlete's potential in sports and life. So uh, from doing the certain program like a team event program or sports actually can uh, push the athletes to be more confident, to be more integrated skill among them in one group, and to to teach or to taught them in certain level of the communication behavior in terms of body language, in terms of face impression, how to deal when you are facing one another teammate who are really um, anger in certain level, really feel if they are really feel sad or they are enjoying their training program. So this is a teaching and communication behavior that as a coach you need to oversee this. um, the sixth one is related to the tactic and the sports skill. This is a coaches understand and develop like a unique approach to teaching a specific skill and strategize needed to excel in at their sport. So the tactic is all about strategize how you going to come out with after technical element that you develop. You need to have a certain tactic because when you be a same par, same level to your opponent, of course you need to have a certain strategy or tactic that you should um, teach or you should use in order for you to have the winning in a winning level. So that is on the sports skill and tactic. What about the organization administration? So this is by providing information and program policy and goals that coaches must communicate and facilitate the needs of the athletes um, in an atmosphere of the compliance and accountability. This is related to the what are the for example like a training structure. What are the element that involve the competition and might be the key number 7 related to the periodization plan that you want to have with your team. All right. But uh, you go role number 1 to role number 7. This is just ongoing process that every coaches must have. But later on, um, you need to consider that this is a part of the evaluation. You cannot do anything, you cannot do something good if you cannot. You may say that your program is good, but by the end of the day, what actually you refer with your level? Of course, the evaluation. The evaluation comes before the. They can come during the training session, or might be after the training session, or might be you may use as the competition itself as a yardstick for you to measure the evaluation of your training process and so on. But the evaluation that I mentioned now is related for the whole process as a coach that you supposed to do on the role of the sports coach. So that is the element of the role of the sports coaching. So we go for the next one. This is related to the coaching leadership. Coaching leadership that I'm going to share here is related to three elements. The first one is transformational leadership. The second one is autonomy, meaning that a supportive coaching. And the third one, of course, that relate to athlete-centered coaching. But this one I'm going to share with you later on the detail. Of course, when you plus minus the role of the coach, and also the uh, coaching leadership, of course, you cannot neglect the few elements here that as a coach you should understand, and you should establish a few elements here. For example, like establish a vision in your team, define the clear rules and responsibility in team. It's not only for the coach, but it relates to the supporting coach, it's related to the athletes members, because of course every team members or individual athlete, they must have the rules and regulation and responsibility, what they're supposed to do as an athlete, what they're supposed to complete, and of course reward and sanction of the program that you have, and you automatically can develop the or building the confidence among your athletes or your team. And of course the key elements is communicating openly with honest and frankly speaking, that everybody should know or should understand each other. Okay, the coaching leadership tips that I would like to share here is athletes' reaction influenced by a coach's role model. This is a keep. Actually, I keep telling you quite some time related to the athletes' reaction influenced by coach's role model. If the coach smoke, athletes, most of the athletes smoke. But if the coach actually look after the core value, most of the athlete will feel like embarrassing if they are doing something bad. Then later on, they might carry their coach name, and later on they feel ashamed, and I don't want to do this because my coach not doing this. So the code etica, the code of ethics that every coach have, actually can influence the athlete's reaction on the progress or every element of the lifestyle of the athletes. The second one is athlete's expression is not necessarily a reflection of the your ability or leadership. So athlete expression, of course, every athlete be more. Every athlete is a different way. Sometimes we have a a formula, but athletes can come with a B plus formula. So expectation on the athlete expression is not necessarily as a reflection of your ability or your leadership. The third one is learn to recognize emotional pattern. Like for example, when you're dealing with the athletes, you need to understand the body language. You need to understand the psychological element that relate in every single athlete. It's not you can consider that as a junior or senior athletes, but you need to learn to recognize the emotional pattern, body languages, and the faces, the non-verbal signal in certain level, better to read the interaction. And of course, reading the body language is not that easy. Sometimes it may take a year, not a month, a year, a couple of years to understand the athlete. So that is why to have a good team athletes or the athletes, at least you need to spend 4 to 8 years together with them, get to know them. Then you can fit and you can formularize the athletes' ability later on. And of course, in order for you to teach them or to advise them in certain level, most probably for those who are teenagers, for those who are adults, you must have or you must use the appropriate timing, intensity, and the duration to convey your message truthfully. So this is a different culture, different race, different behavior. You must treat them into a different approach. Or do you really need to use a military style, or do you really need to have a reverse psychology style, or might be you may consider them like bringing them into outside of the training environment for you to have the or for you to convey a certain message in order for this message to be rich or to be understand to the your athletes. And this is also applies to the team members on the supporting staff that being together with you, coach. For example, like your team manager, your physiologist, psychologist, sports scientist, and so on. So this is the connection in between the role, coaching leadership, and also the coaching leadership tips. All right. Just now, I did mention about the coaching gender, but coaching when you're dealing with young ladies, young girls, this is different compared that you dealing with the female, male athletes. So here I'll just give a few example. I just give four for each example of gender that relates to the gender itself. Like for example, here I chose the first one for women, girls, or ladies who are normally every coach should understand the should reading or should recognize that uh, a young woman or woman athletes or girls athletes more too personable, sensitive, empathetic, emotional, and connections. So this is a basic that we have that I can share with you. There's a more and lots outside there that you can check on the women athletes, but this is the basic element: personable, sensitive, empathetic, emotional, and connection. The second one, a woman tend to hard work. Women have a really in a direction of what they're doing, and women need two ways communication. They really need two ways communication, otherwise they become stagnant. So they love to have a clarification with if they are not satisfied in certain um, a process of they're supposed to have, but they need to have two ways communication here. And of course, beside hardworking, direction, two ways communication, uh, woman is sometimes a little bit sensitive in the if you not convey the message that you are going to do with them in a correct time. So that is why it's not that easy as a coach to deal with the women athletes. But that is why we encourage women uh, can coach in academic kejuaraan kebangsaan. Now we have women can coach, so normally women easily coaching a woman, and there is a few sensitive element in terms of sexual or the interpersonal that sometimes a woman as a woman athletes difficult to share with the men's coach. So this is element, but when you talking about woman, when you referring woman, woman cannot run from the weight management issue. Women look forward to have a beauty faces, a beauty a body, a beauty body shapes, and of course, in order for them to reach a certain level, they work hard. But sometimes there is a few, not all, few athletes who take a shortcut element. So, for example, like using the substance that been banned by WADA anti-doping to take whatever substance that can manage their weight management. The purpose is not for performance, but their purpose is only for the weight management, for the beauty and everything. They actually, this is the real situation. It's not happened to the Malaysia, but it's happened to around the world. When you're talking about the women's athletes, they really concerned about weight management. They're concerned about beauty. They're they're concerned about that. And when you're dealing with a woman athletes, you need to check on their physiological changes during puberty and their performance. Um, Normally a woman tend to have higher fat when they reach puberty, for example, or when they reach a certain level of puberty, the mood changes and so on. So coaches must know how to read the physiological changes for during puberty for the girls or women in that particular sports. All right, and sometimes when we go into personality, personalized, a woman tend to have a boyfriend when they are facing a problem with their boyfriend or their husband, or they tend to influence their training program too. It's not many young athletes or athletes who are facing problem with their partner or their boyfriend or their husband and wife and so on, facing with a mature, with the relaxed and steady and not influenced into their training program. So every element that coaches have with the women's athletes can actually we need to study one by one on that. Okay, we go for the second one. This is for men athletes, the gender differences when you coaching a men's athletes or male. The first one, male actually very objective, analytical. They have a very one dimension only, visual and processor. Visual meaning that when you coaching them, you need to visualize your coach is not only talking about verbal. You need to show something because they are very straightforward. They're not hiding from a back or side. But this is the element. But when you go for the second point, of course, women actually have a very hard work, but for male, they have very aggressive. They have the goal setting, what they want to do, what they want to achieve, the determination. And normally men is active lifestyle, competitive, dominating, and controlling in terms of team members and so on. So this is a characteristic that I learned from few literature review that I read through for when you're coaching the male athletes. And of course, there is a few more or less same, but there is a few differences when you compare women and male. Um, on the muscular body type. How big, how broad your body. Of course, men love to show their body shape, to show their muscular body type, and concern about fitness. Men's normally concerned about fitness. I had the experience when I'm dealing with the hammer thrower athletes who are weight more or less like 130 kilos to 140 kilos. They love to gone down their weight, not because of the performance itself, but they love to show that when you take off your shirt, you have muscular in your own muscle, you have six packs. So when you're dealing with young athletes, male athletes, male athletes, they love when they take off the t-shirt, they love to show that they have the muscular body type. So that is a real situation when you're facing with them. And of course, every athlete, male athlete, actually concerned about their fitness. They push their fitness into the limit because they love to multifunction their body into a certain level. So when you love to, or you concern about your fitness, that's easy for the coach who can see your potential in your particular sport. If you are not really, or you are not able to perform well in your skill in that particular sports, the coach actually can share you and can transform or can transfer you to the another talent. Another talent might be from basketball, you can go to the handball, or you can go to another sports. um, like for example, like if you are 100 meters runner, if you are not good, your performance is stagnant, might be you can cheer to the hurdle into that particular athletics element, or might be you can go if you can play football very well, so why don't you change to the football. There is so many example that been happen in the world, talking about the talent transfer for the athletes who have the very good in a basic foundation program that they can easily transform or transfer them to another sports then they perform. All right. What about the physiological element? Of course, the physiological body structure and fitness. Of course, the man or male have the extra when you compare in terms of fitness, strength, acceleration, and of course, speed. Compare than a woman athlete. So this is an advantage that a male athletes or men athletes will be facing if they are doing extra. It goes to the knowledge itself. Men only push a little bit. Women normally push more in order to equivalence their knowledge or their ability when you women versus men in gender differences. All right, that is on the coaching gender differences. All right. What is actually leadership beside the one that I mentioned? Leadership is all about action. It's about enabling, not telling. So as a coach, you need to reconsider on the not to say that you just do this without you show any action towards what you're supposed to do. It's all about talking the talk and walking the walk, walking alongside. So as a coach, leaders actually come from you. You actually a mirror of your generation, of your athletes, of your supporting a team, and of course of your fan. Because nowadays, a coach is not only doing at the background level or hidden um, unsung hero. Coach actually show their attitude, their way of work, and coach actually as a career right now. Coach is not only building young athletes or athletes to be a better person, but coach actually develop their own capability to allow other coaches, junior coaches, to be like him or like her. So, um, to be honest, a coach is a good career to be involved with. How are you going to be a good coach? Of course, the first one is knowledge, the second one is experience, and of course, is involve skill and work hard. All right, all right. Change your leadership style if your athletes' performance are stagnant. As a coach, you need to change your leadership style if athletes' performance are stagnant. Why? Um, a few investigation or the research has been done, like leadership style are investigated as a five common training and instruction, social support, democratic, autocratic, and positive feedback. Of course, this is continuous investigation happens since 90s, 60s until now. It's never stopped. How actually leadership skill among coaches may help to improve the athlete's performance. Of course, as I mentioned on the screen, common training and instruction, social support, democratic, autocratic style, and positive feedback. So I'm going to share with you a little bit on this. All right, the variation of the leadership. Of course, you can have a look on the training instruction here. Of course, coaching behavior aim to improve the athlete performance by emphasizing the facilitating hard and strenuous training, instruction athletes in the skill, technique, and tactic of this sport. Clarify the relationship among the athletes, and of course, structuring the coordinating the athletes' activities. This is the most important part. You need to have a variation on the coaching leadership. The second one is more to democratic behavior as a coach. Coaching behavior allow actually greater athletes participation in decision pertaining to the group goals, practices, methods, and game tactic and strategy. So this is more to the democratic behavior that carry coaches' behavior. And what about the autocratic behavior? Coaching behavior that involve independent decision making and stresses personal authority. So actually, the combination on the democratic behavior and autocratic behavior, coach also can encourage athletes to be more independent in terms of course, coach, to be honest, telling the athletes, taught the athlete, coaching the athletes on the a certain skills or the tactic. But when you come as an athlete on the ground of your field, you must show that your credibility as an athlete to perform or to mirror back your coach behavior when they are coaching you in a lesson in the training regime. So the combination of the democratic behavior and the autocratic behavior actually can encourage athletes to be more independent. What about the social support? Of course, the coaching behavior characterized by concern for the welfare individual athletes, positive group atmosphere, and interpersonal relation within the members. This includes all the family members, the progression of the athletes, the combination or the interpersonal relationship between coaches, parents, or guardians related to the athlete itself. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, coaching is not coach for sports, it's coach for life too. Whenever you left your athlete might remember you because you taught me in a first level of involvement myself in that particular sports. Like me, I still remember my first coach who actually identified me and bring me into a certain level. But of course, one coach is not enough for you as an athlete to bring it up your level of performance. So you need to break up into a few levels. For example, like if I share with you on the verbal picture here, you have a kindergarten level, you have level one, which is involved standard one, two, three, four, and standard 5 and 6 at the level 2, and continuous with secondary school, college, university, and higher level of involvement. And the last one on the positive feedback of the coaches behavior that reinforce an athletes by recognizing or rewarding good performance. And this is can be considered on the situational consideration, like behavior aim to consider situational factors such as games environment, maturity, stress, stated, then of course individual gender, skill level, and health condition of your athlete itself. So this is not only for the elite level. This is maybe used, maybe useful use by the coaches at the school level, clubs level, and so on. So the variation on the sports coaching leadership actually may help enhance the performance of your athletes. Okay. Coaching today. Coaching is a form of leadership that pulls together people with their diverse talents, background, experiences, and interests, encourages them to step up to responsibility and continuous achievement, and treats them as full-scale partner and contributors. So that is a role, part of the role of the coaches. You need to form your own leadership, pull them, push them, but of course you need to have the a certain limit. If you are dealing with young kids, you may not push them into a strength level very high when they need to use the gym equipment that you might use a modified. But another part, coach actually as a motivator can encourage them to step up into a responsibility. Normally, for those athletes who are, when we call athletes, they are involved with sports. Those who are involved with sports actually more have or tend to have a very high discipline. Um, they have a very responsibility. They are responsible towards what are they doing. uh, they're not hide, because the core value as a athletes also being created at your training session. So coach actually develop the core principle that they carry to the athletes itself. So here we can see the skill of the contributor, of the achievement of the athletes actually came from the good leadership of coaching. But coaching is not about memorizing technique or devising the perfect game plan only. It's all about really paying attention to people, really believing them, or really caring about them, that involving with them. So that environment, that ecosystem itself can actually pull the group of the your team members to be a more responsible, more understanding, um, what they call it, care each other, minds map your attention towards your team members and so on. So hopefully, by sharing this knowledge, actually can assist coaches to be a better person, to prepare or structure their athletes later on. Then I really hope by coaching today that I shared with you can assist you towards a betterment of preparing your athletes. Okay, here I'll like to share the coach leadership qualities that been developed by few McConnell and the Trim Breath and Colin, year 1994 and 2000. Like for example, I'll share with one with McConnell 2000. Coach leadership quality enable direction and structure by the group. Coach have a clear vision, charisma, enable motivation and enthusiasm, um, make a difference, people-oriented skillful communicator, build character and empathy. That's been a research been done by McConnell 2000. But what about from Trimberth and Colin 1994? They mentioned about coach is all about vision and passion, strong communication skill, coach as a role model, coach have integrity and honesty, and be organized. So the key here, I can see a vision that is a normal, that, but a coach have a very high integrity and honesty that they mentioned about it. So here is more just a few studies that I took out from the literature review that I would like to share with you. Hopefully, of course, every coaches have their own leadership skill, but uh, no harm for you guys as a coach to learn more, or might be to copy or to mirror other coaches who are success in certain level. Then you may copy paste that one and mold it into your own leadership qualities that you're supposed to have. All right, the primary role of the coach as a leader, of course, the first one, provide an environment that allow for satisfaction for all participants. The satisfaction actually um, can assist uh, or can enhance the performance of the athletes itself. Empower athletes to accept personal responsibility and have ownership for their learning and performance. This is relates to the one that I mentioned earlier um, on the autocratic and what else before that I mentioned just now. You can have a look my PowerPoint. And the third one consists constantly seek to improvement in knowledge, in application, and in approach of the um, athletes, and of course focus on people. That's a primary role of a coach leader. Coach must be a leader and build leader. So this is all what we call mentoring. As a coach, you have senior coach, you have middle coach, and you have very junior coach. So coach must be a leaders and build leaders. To build leaders, the coach has to enable athletes independence so they can perform with freedom and autonomy to make informed decision without the coach around. Of course, now this Hinkson 2000 actually make a do during the COVID environment right now, because coach not be with athletes. Normally, athletes just so-called video their progression or their training program and show it to the coach. Coach, this is the one that I did during the COVID MCO, that I cannot go out from my house, so I just perform my physical activity or physical training like this is the one. So you actually develop already your athletes to be a leader, because MCO actually taught us, everybody, it's not only athletes, between athletes and coaches, but between a boss and their subordinate or their uh, a staff, to say that you need to independently perform freedomly with autonomy to make informed that decision without your head, without your boss, without your coach. So coach must be a leader and build a leader here. So does sharing power, this is a good question that I would like to throw out. Does sharing power decrease or enhance team control for the coach? This is question that I want to highlight to all of you. Sharing power not decrease anything. Sharing power or delegates your power actually can improve your knowledge as a master coach, because from the variety of the ideas from your team actually can gain more knowledge on yourself. We cannot, or we do not know how to train without coach before the MCO, but within the MCO environment, everybody been pushed to speak or to do something good for your training program. The same goes to lecturing the spectators or the coaches. We cannot easily speak in front of the computer without MCO. We love to have one-to-one or face-to-face interaction, of course, as a human. But later on, you've been pushed to speak in front of the computer to communicate with other people outside the boundaries. It's not only in Malaysia. You go globally now. So this is an element that actually the benefit our society right now. All right. Okay. Where's our journey? Because coaches are responsible for enabling athletes to learn. Coaching is a complex process. But like other learners, athletes develop understanding and learn more effectively when they are involved in solving problems for themselves. This is what we call coach allowing their athletes to do, or freedomly to push their athletes to do the training regime with monitoring by coach from far. So because you are coaches that responsible for enabling athletes to learn, of course, when you fulfill the athletes' element on the training program, you develop the coaching complex process, you develop the leadership process that actually can hit your athletes to develop the understanding and learn more effectively when they are involved in solving problems or doing things related to the training regime. So that is a element that might be a good for the coaches. So coach, you cannot 100% controlling your athletes, but freedomly say that allow the athletes to make their own decision. All right, I share a little bit that actually what we learned from the leadership lesson from the military that can be adopted in a training session that we have in a sports. As a military team, they set a clear goal and objective. They gather intelligence about competitor situation and option when they go into war. They plan a course of the action based on that intelligence and practice often, but emphasize flexibility instead of vote memorization of action. And as military, they visibly demonstrate commitment to goals, organization of the regular basis, and trust team members' judgment. They trust the team members' judgment, including the athletes in our situation. In terms of the supporting staff, they trust based on their own expertise. They get out onto battlefield with their team on the regular basis. And of course, the most important part among 1 to 7 point that I showed here is a communication with teammates to ambush or to push into a certain war and to win the war. What can we learn from the leadership lesson from the military? Okay. Strategize to adopt. Conducting comprehensive research into opposing team records and player strength. So, for example, right now we use game and performance analysis. Or might be this is a very far or too far to you guys at the school level, states level, district level, so on. But you might use your own handphone, video it, and show it to them in terms of tactic that you show it to them before being used during the competition or not. So that is a part of the gadget that may applies into your training program. Reviewing opposing teams game and developing game plan based on this research, like a sports skill and tactic, what you're supposed to do. Running frequent drills that change up usual play, and of course communication in one team. So this is strategized to adopt from the military style that might benefit sports itself. Okay, uh, almost there. This is my last slide. Take home message that I would like to share with you on the sports coaching leadership. The first one, role model. You are as a role model for your training program, for your athletes. The key element is a communication. Delegate your work, your skill, and so on. You must have a trust. Of course, in order for you to have everything here, you must have a knowledge. Other people can only can have a knowledge, but you need to have an extra knowledge plus skills. You need to show the correct way how to perform in a certain level of training regime or the skill that you have. And of course, you need to motivate them. You need to have a very high motivation value to yourself. You create your own journey for your team. You actually your team. Your body is what you eat. You coach, you create your own journey for your team. All right, I think that's all from me today. I really hope that you enjoy my sharing knowledge, share and talk about the sports coaching and leadership. Then I really hope that it's really uh, assist or really benefit you guys from watching my discussion today. And I really hope that uh, you enjoy it. Okay, I'll mic sharing very knowledge. I will see few Q&A session. That is there any Q&A session? Oh, we have IAPS Philippines International who are actually joining our program. Thank you. All right, I think we have no question. Hang on. I think there is no question, but I really hope that you enjoy with us again. I'm going to have the next session, but not on the AKK webinar, but that more to the Puspanita KBS relates coaches that's more to the sports parenting versus coaches involvement, something like that. But I really hope that everybody stays safe with the look after yourself, kita jaga kita in Malay, and of course enjoy with you, and hope that we might going to meet again another 2 weeks time. And I really hope that the next program I might touch on the intermediate level on the training regime for the young athletes. All right, thank you. Bye.